What's up, guys? Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm Rob Whiteside. I'm very excited for you guys to be with us tonight because we have a very special episode. It's very, very special. And you know what? When I think of these big, huge, furry creatures, this guy right here, Tyler Mann. How are you, Tyler?
Check off your bingo card, everybody. I'm doing great, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm just fantastic, thanks. So thanks for being with me on this one, and thanks everybody in the chat that got started early. K-Jack, Casway, RJ, Dawn, thanks for being here with us. I know Arch Fox was there early, SeaWorld, and Lego Fan. Thank you guys for being with us. We really appreciate it. I feel like somebody dropped... There are a lot of really... very corny jokes in the chat tonight, so thank you guys for those. Those are awesome. Tom,
they were
thanks
bearable.
For being with us. Yeah, they were very bearable. We're talking about Country Bears tonight. If you didn't catch our drift, if you didn't see the thumbnail,
movie,
we're talking about Country Bears the movie. Yeah, so just a little context for this to start with. I mean, Disney did a lot of attempts at taking attractions from the parks and making them into movies, whereas most of the attractions are based on movies that they make in the parks, obviously. Tower of Terror in 1997, I liked that one. I don't know if it's on Disney Plus at this point, but the minute it is, we need to add that to the list of movies that we review.
Yes.
Mission to Mars, it came out next in 2000. It was so loosely based on an attraction, it didn't really hardly even count to me. 2002, we get the Country Bears, and you know what? So we're going to talk about this movie. We're going to talk about the attraction, but I loved the attraction. My dad was a huge country music fan. He was the one dragging us to the show when it first opened. We would go there. This attraction opened at Disney World before it opened at Disneyland, which is rare. Usually it's the other way around. In 1971, they had the Country Bears. It was originally meant to be an attraction, and if we have we've got a ton of Disney fans with us. You guys already know the story that Walt originally had it planned for a ski resort that he was making, and there was going to be this Country Bears show, and they opened it up with Disney World in the Magic Kingdom in Frontierland, and it was so popular that they mimicked it for Disneyland in California. Tyler, are you a fan of the attraction itself?
I wasn't, but now I am. Like, the first time I remember going in about the second time I'd been to Disney, by the time I remembered stuff, was 2008. And I remember there was a cast member in the corner during the show going to try and get everyone to clap along. Meanwhile, I was just like, oh, it's country music. I don't care. This is a boring show. I want to go on rides. But then now I have such a strong appreciation for animatronic shows and those classics that are at the park that I go and watch this, and I can also riff along with someone like Thomas. I can watch the show and be like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. But how great is it? Isn't this fun? So yeah, I ended up starting to love that attraction.
You're hurting my heart. You're hurting my heart.
Because I like you know what?
But here's the thing: the songs they have for this are real country songs that they're just performed by the Bears. So Tex Ritter had a song in here. You could go back in and find these songs performed by the original artists. Obviously not all of them. There were some that were written specifically for the show, but the animatronics are good here. And here's the problem that I have often is that because Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza made this animatronic bands, a lot of people compare them, but you just can't. I mean, the quality of these animatronics and the quality of this show is so amazing for animatronics. It really is. I mean, you've got to at least admit that. Yeah. Yeah, so, and it hasn't had a lot of updates. I mean, obviously, they've updated the fur on the bears, and they've shortened the show. It used to be a lot longer. They did alternate versions of the show in Disneyland and in Disney World. There was a Christmas version and a vacation version. And then eventually the Disneyland version went away to make room for Winnie the Pooh. But if you've been to Disneyland, you know that you can ride the Winnie the Pooh attraction and then see the mounted heads up above you still as you're riding through the attraction, which is, I mean, it's so, I don't know. I just love this. I love how tongue-in-cheek the whole thing is. I love the bad, puns in the thing. I love the music. I mean,
it's got heart to it, too.
Well, right.
at the end of the show when he's like, we're all just one big weird family and you're always welcome to come back. And it just, you could tell that they cared about it and they wanted to create that weird family sort of motif that's happening in the show. And that carries over into the movie, surprisingly. But yeah, it's a show that's charming and it has heart to it, oddly enough.
So we'll talk more about the attraction at the end, because I do still think there's a couple other things to say about the attraction, but let's get into this movie. Like I said, it came out in 2002. Pirates of the Caribbean came out in 2003 and was amazing. It was absolutely the movie that Pirates of the Caribbean deserved. It was so good. And then the Haunted Mansion came out, and a lot of people hate on the Haunted Mansion. I will defend the Haunted Mansion movie because, again, on paper, it was the movie it should have been. When you look at the attraction of the Haunted Mansion, it is you've got comedy, you've got the scary part in the front, and you got the comedy in the back. I think it's cool that they made a combination of the two for that movie. I do think on paper that movie was the right movie. With this one, I feel like they again, on paper it was the right movie, but I feel like they did injustice to the bears themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. We watched this on Ride Rehab Watches back on Friday so that you and I could do this show today. And after we watched it, I'd said pretty much the same thing, which is that Pirates needed to be a big, grand, epic pirate movie, because that's what the ride was. Haunted Mansion needed to be a kind of silly but kind of actually spooky haunted house film, which it was. And this just needed to be a music band, getting the band back together type film where all these characters you need to see them in their element and then have them reconnect and do a big show. That's all this movie needed to be, and it's what it was. But it was missing, I feel like 10 to 15 more minutes of that real family heart kind of stuff. But otherwise, this is the movie I would have expected Country Bears as a movie to be, even though it was an adventure type road trip film that featured a car chase. Yeah. It's exactly what I would expect a Country Bears movie to be, and it was actually a good movie.
Well, so when I look at it, I just feel like, they were very loose with the connection between them. And I don't know that you needed to make it like a rock and roll thing with it's Fred Betterhead and it's Ted Betterhead. I mean, that was a little much for me. And the Bears didn't quite look right with the Country Bears. And if you're doing this based on the attraction, I feel like they should have been more in line. And here, there's this picture that I wanted to show that this made me think of this, is that there was a thing at Hollywood Studios called Here Come the Muppets. And it was walking versions of the Muppets that made them look kind of not right as the Muppets. And so I get that it's probably tough to take something like these animatronic bears and make them look fairly real, except they kind of do, right? The walk-around characters that they have at the parks kind of look like they're supposed to look. So I don't know why they had to go so different and so big on them. And Jim Henson's Creature Shop put these together, and as a storytelling device, they're great. I just don't like them as the Country Bears.
Yeah, the actual animation. Well, I say animation because I don't know if they were doing live puppeteering with them or not, using radio controls. Yeah, I think if they were doing that, those were amazing. The facial expressions look great, and we have to remember there's not only a person breaking the magic here. Not only is there a person in that suit, but they also have this huge robotic head on that needs to be controlled by somebody else. So there's a lot of work going into that, and I'm not sure if they did use the designs from the park, the walk-around characters there, or the versions from the show, if you'd be able to adapt that while keeping it a person in a suit. Maybe if they had done some weird mixed thing where some of the bears just were not a person in a suit, but it was being puppeteered in a different manner. I'm not sure how that would have done. I'm not a puppet expert.
Wait,
I'm
you're
a
not?
furry expert.
Why? I was about to say there had to be a reason we had you on here. I thought it was puppet. Maybe it was the furry thing.
Oh well, this movie is 100% furry. Like the fact that they are. It's like it's the way the Muppets works, where it's like there are human people and then there are bear people, and that's the two kinds of people that exist in this world. But the bears continue to live normal lives. You know, they all have a house and they have clothes and they all use phones and stuff like that. Like they all have jobs. Can I just point out that the Muppets 2010, I think, 100% ripped off this movie. This plot is almost entirely beat for beat what the Muppet movie that Jason Segel did was.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Movie
is
incredibly ripping off from the plot of I'm a bear and I feel like I don't fit in with these people, so I'm going to go off and find the people I should fit in with, and none of them like each other anymore. We have to get the band back together and do a big show to save this thing that matters most to us. It's the exact same movie.
No, I mean, I had that same vibe, obviously. That movie, like with Walter, and Walter is like, oh, well, I don't quite feel like that my brother's actually my brother because there's something different about me. And you're right. Then he goes off and he puts the band back together so that they can save the show. Yeah, it's exactly the same. You know what? I'm sure that somebody could call us on it and say that this is not original, that it's been, there are 18 other versions of this as well. But you're right, because they're both Disney, it does seem like that they're too in line with each other. I mean, I don't even know, the run times are even very similar, so maybe it was a shot for shot. I don't know. But the other thing about this movie is it didn't get a lot of traction, and I don't know if it's because there weren't a lot of fans of the Country Bear attraction, which I kind of feel like there are. Pirates of the Caribbean, huge blockbuster. So I feel like that this is one that didn't get a huge amount of attention. So if they want to remake it as a Muppet movie, maybe you pull that off. So if you're unfamiliar with this movie, the basic gist as it starts is that there's this whole montage, and I almost hesitate to show it, but there's a lot of little things in here, only because I've been burned before. But there's all these little things as they go through this. That are like, this was a well thought out intro. All these little, like the hibernation tour. I mean, come on, that's great. The album, that's our first. I mean, that's perfect. They kind of look like Sgt. Pepper. This little thing about, Trixie, Trouble with Love. I mean, if you're a huge fan, before you even get into it, you're already seeing this montage of the Country Bears and, what they stand for, and just all this little wordplay that happens in there. The hibernation tour, perfect. I love that. Yeah. So there's this one thing in here about Zed Zuber's sticky honey problem. So already, like they're like, rock bands and their honey addictions. I mean, it's so like kind of, I don't know. It's very Country Bears like to say that he's got like a drinking problem. So it's funny that they layer that in. Yeah.
The fact that there's like a whole bars for drinking honey and like other humans go there. It's one of those things where just the universe is heightened just enough so it's still like grounded in reality, but then there's that extra little bit where it's like, yeah, this universe is kind of weird and it's fine.
Yeah. And then there's a clip of Willie Nelson in the beginning talking about the Bears and what an inspiration they were to him, which again is awesome. So again, I love, like, if this, and I've said this about the reboot Fantastic Four movie, if this was just a movie, a fun movie about some characters, I would have been 100% on board, but I just judge it against the attraction, and that's where I lose stuff in there. But then at the same time, some of the stuff in here that throws back to the attraction is pretty cool, like Trixie being in there. There's some other stuff we'll get to, but so they do this whole intro, and then you find out there's this bear named Barry Barrington. Of course, his name is Barry Barrington, and he thinks he is a regular person. And his brother, who is played, this kid Dexter, who's played by the kid who plays Stifler's little brother in American Pie, and the voice from the Iron Giant, and I don't even remember the actor's name, but he was.
I forgot. Yeah.
He is so hateable as an actor. He really is. I mean, as Stifler's brother.
You mean
I
as
mean,
the character? The hateable as the actor means he sucks.
no,
His
no. I mean,
characters are.
he pulls off hateable so well, is what I'm trying to
Oh
say.
yeah.
So maybe that just makes him a great actor. I don't know. Is that what we think?
Yeah, he's meant to be like he's the whole reason the movie exists, like the plot of it exists, because people do want to know like what the exact movie is about. Barry runs away and tries to help the country bears get back together. That's the gist of the movie, but there's a lot of little pieces happening. But yeah, he's like no one notices that he's covered in fur and stuff. Like, and his parents are just like, he's her son, you're his brother, and he's like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah. So he was
like
Hogarth.
the only
He was
sane person?
Hogarth. Yeah, he was Hogarth in the Iron Giant. Eli Marienthal is his name, but again, it's just in the American Pie movies and in this movie, you just kind of hate him, and he does such a good job of making you hate him. So again, that means he's a great actor, and kudos to him. But so the brother finally pulls Barry aside and says, "Hey, look, man, you're adopted. Like, let me show you the picture of me when I was born and the picture of you when they found you. Here's my birth certificate. Here's your tracking collar. Put the pieces together."
The picture of Barry as a child is like a park ranger holding a rifle and picking him up by the leg. Like, there's so many great, like, even their bedroom design, there's so many like good like parody posters of like the country bears. Like, the graphic design work for that is so much fun, because I love parody ads and making stuff look fake but so realistic to that universe. Like, you really buy that the country bears were a thing at this time.
Yeah, no, for sure. So again, he's basically he pushes Barry out, but he's like, "Hey, here's my baby picture, and then here's where they found you."
I didn't have a right.
Yeah, and then there's all that stuff in the background you're talking about, and like, here's your tracking collar. So he pushes him out. He goes out because he wants to go to Bear Hall because he's been obsessed with the country bears. All of his class projects are about the country bears. He wants to meet them and see Bear Hall. So he goes out to Bear Hall, and when he gets there, he finds out that it's going out of business. They haven't been paying the bills. Things are not going well for the bears, or the bear that's left, which is Henry. And again, Henry, nothing like. I mean, at least put a top hat on it.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Something. It just wasn't close enough. But I mean, did it have to be? I mean, maybe this is the tongue-in-cheek of this movie. Did it have to be the Barrington family? Barry. I don't know.
We also didn't say that Barry is voiced by Haley Joel Osment, who, in like the 5-year span of this movie coming out, he was in Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, he was in Kingdom Hearts, then Country Bears, then Jungle Book 2, then Secondhand Lions, which I think was Touchstone, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 after that. Like, Disney was really getting all they could out of Haley Joel Osment for, like, I guess the 5-6 year contract. Oh, and then Kingdom Hearts, like, he continued to be in Kingdom Hearts for many years. But just, like, the next few things that he did after this movie was more Disney stuff.
Yeah.
He's good in the movie, though.
No, for sure. And Stephen Tobolowsky plays his dad. Stephen Tobolowsky, who played Ned Needlemeyer in Groundhog Day, he's the greatest like character actor. I feel like he just is in all these different things. He's just I don't know. He's great in everything that he does.
He's so funny. He's in Spaceballs. He's the guy who's like, "You caught their stunt doubles."
Yeah.
He's in so much, and I feel like people don't really know his name. They know his face, though, and they know him as Ned Ryerson, that whole bit. But yeah, it was a surprise to find out he was in this movie.
Well, and then the when the Barringtons feel like that their son has been kidnapped, they call the police, and the police are played by Diedrich Bader and DJ Chill Miller. Mitchell. Chill Mitchell. It makes me sad sometimes because he was in Galaxy Quest, and he had an unfortunate accident and he's in a wheelchair now. But this was beforehand when he was. But he was in it. He was great in this. They come to the house and the mom's like cooking all this food, and again they're playing along with the joke, right? So they're like, "Can you describe the son to us?" And they're like, "Well." He's got brown hair, and then meanwhile, Dexter's in the background. Are you kidding me? It's all over his body. Like how are you not seeing this? And they go, let me see. We have a picture, and they show him the picture. He goes, oh, he's about in the 4th grade, right? I mean, just like so so campy, and it's great. And their names are Ham and Cheats.
Is that their name?
Officer Ham and Officer Cheats. Yeah.
I don't know why that's so funny.
I don't know. So they're a neat little side story that's going on there. There is like a really cheeseball moment later with them, but Barry goes to the hall and he meets Henry. They're given tours. Tours are like 25 cents, and then you meet the bad guy played by Christopher Walken. Do you do a Christopher Walken impression? And if so, will you do it now?
No, it's so bad. I mean, I could try. Nope, that was terrible. Christopher Walken, like, he's okay in Hairspray. He's not terrible in that movie. But then you watch like Peter Pan Live, and you're just like, Christopher Walken, you're so much better than this. And he's not bad in this movie. He's not as. There is a wonderful moment at the end where he gets to go full ridiculous as the villain, but. Yeah. I feel like he could have been used for so much more. Like, I'm the wacky villain. I can't do it. I don't know what voice that is.
You know what? You tried. That's all that matters. Yeah. So, hopefully the people appreciate it. So Christopher Walken is the evil banker who is going to be tearing down Country Bear Hall. Here's where I have another problem. Country Bear Hall. Why call it Country Bear Hall? I don't understand.
I mean, design-wise, I'm glad like they kept the idea that they had a theater specifically for them, because the intro of the movie shows them playing like a huge concert, and I'm like, isn't the plot of this movie like they're trying to get their hall back, which is supposed to be like the hall from the attraction? Right.
So here's the hall from the attraction. This is Grizzly Hall. Why? I mean, could they not get the naming rights to Grizzly? I mean, why did it have to be Country Bear Hall and not Grizzly Hall? Why, if it's this astounds me.
To connect it more to like, this is our hall, like it's literally named after us, possibly.
No, I refuse that. It's just wrong, and I want them to go back and digitally remaster this with it being Grizzly Hall. Thanks. Okay, so Henry's given a tour of Grizzly Hall, and he starts mentioning people who have played there, and he mentions Liver Lips, and he mentions Gomer, which is great, and then he mixes that in with talking about Flat and Scruggs, who is like an actual country band, and then Jimi Hendrix. I love that. I love that it's trying to, as you've said, like there's this like a heightened world that where maybe the Bears are like they're like a big act that everyone knew that, just like Jimi Hendrix or Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. And the fact that they mentioned Liver Lips and Gomer in there, great throw to, again, the attraction. They didn't put those characters in this movie. Big Al.
There's so many characters, though.
Yeah, but Big Al's the one that disappoints me because I feel like he should, and he's kind of Big Al because he's real slow, but then all of them are a little bit deep voice and slow.
Yeah. We got Kevin Michael Richardson, who's like king of deep voices.
Yeah.
Then Diedrich Bader is also in there, and Brad Garrett, like, they all gotta sound like this. All bears gotta sound like this.
Yeah, exactly. So Big Al's the handyman, and after giving the tour, Barry says, hey, I got a way to save the place. Let's go get the band back together, and we'll have one big reunion concert, and we'll make all the money you need to put the hall back together, and it'll be great, and we'll pay it off, and everything will be happy and peppy. And so they say to Big Al, hey, you know what, you take care of the place, and we'll go do this. And he's like, yep, I got you. I got everything covered, no problem. So they go to leave, and they go to Nashville. And the cool thing to me is, like, I'm currently in Nashville. And the scene they showed is actually in Nashville, like the bus driving down
Oh.
Broadway at the time. So I don't know. Kudos for that. There was a lot of the same bridge, used in the movie
Yeah.
back and forth, which I thought was a little
I noticed
strange.
that too.
Yeah, and it didn't seem to need to be. It was like they just kept going back and forth on that same bridge. But they go to Nashville and they start collecting the band, and they get to Fred, and Fred is working as like a security guard for like this a weird place where there's a trampoline and a band.
It
I don't
was
know.
he's like it's like a sound stage, I guess, and then we get cameo no, not cameo number one. We get musical artist song segment number one.
Yes.
Where I guess who was it, Jewel? No, not Jewel. Crystal. Crystal is the name of the singer.
Jewel?
Crystal walks in. Yeah, Jewel would have been better. Crystal walks in. And he's like, you gotta pass for the shoot. She's like, I am the shoot. And then she's like, oh my God, you're a country bear. And then they sing an entire song together. Where in a movie like this, typically a song would be happening, and then we'd see other stuff happening like elsewhere in the scene. Like maybe like you'd see the bears walking in, or maybe trying to like sneak into the soundstage. But in this one, it's just a 2-minute music video.
What does it look like when they sneak in? Can you show me that again?
You're sneaking
Yeah,
in.
okay, all right. No, but here's what this is, and it goes back to, is this the right template for a Country Bear movie? It's a showstopper, right? The entire thing stops for a musical number. And like High School Musical or any of those, where it's this breakout of a song in the middle of everything else. It's not background to it. It's not. It's just everything stops and it's about this song. And so, I mean, I kind of think that as the show itself is that, like, here's a little bit of shtick with Henry, and then, hey, like, let's introduce the 5 Bear Rugs, and then they do their bit, and then there's a little bit of shtick, and then here's Trixie, and then a little bit, and then here's Big Al. So I feel like that actually fits what a Country Bear movie should be, but they're not great is the problem. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not great. They actually, to me, slow the thing down.
There's a way to do musicals, which some directors know how to do, and some just have no idea what they're doing. In a movie like this, the song they actually do it well later. There's a song in Queen Latifah's Bar where it's like sort of like a fiddle duel, and but the lyrics happening are about what's happening in the scene, and it's driving the scene forward. Like the song has an arc to it. But this song is just, hey, you want to sing a pop song with us? Pop song happens. It needs to be about something, or there needs to be, like you said, something else happening at the same time the song is playing, at least.
Well, she definitely didn't feel like an actress. You kind of, even though you don't necessarily know Crystal Harris, you kind of felt like she can sing and she can't quite act, so maybe she's a singer, like a legit singer. And she actually performed the titles, or a big song for the Princess Diaries before this. She did a lot of the soundtrack, specifically the song Supergirl for the Princess Diaries. So she did that, and then she did this movie right after. So Disney already had her. They're like, hey, when you finish doing this thing for the Princess Diaries, come over to Soundstage 7. We're doing this weird bear thing. We'd love to have you do a cameo. It'd be fantastic. She did some stuff. She did soundtrack for Lizzie McGuire. So, I mean, she is a performer. She is a singer. She has a very, like, Halsey of 2002 look to her.
Sure.
Like Halsey now, but back in 2002. I don't know. It's like, it just was very obvious to me, and I did not know her as a performer, that she was a performer when she, even before she started singing. But there's a second breakout like that later where they're in a restaurant, and there's this girl, Jennifer. That's the thing too, is this is Crystal playing Crystal, and that's Jennifer the waitress playing Jennifer. I mean, Jennifer playing Jennifer the waitress. So
Jennifer Page playing Jennifer the waitress.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know why. I mean, it didn't help me to know her.
That song is actually, though, compared to the other song, "Kick It Into Gear" is actually just an entertaining song. And I remember after I saw this movie the first time, I did listen to that song on repeat quite a bit. And I think Jennifer Page is in the audience at the end of the movie, which is the only way that any of these sort of song sequences relate at all to what's happening, which is that I guess at the end they all show up to show their support. But yeah. This scene showed how much they had fun with the editing of the movie, and that they knew how to time a joke comedically, because they're like, I actually sing your song, Kick It Into Gear, and then we hear a sample of the song Kickin', like the Country Bears singing it in black and white for like 1.5 seconds. Like it cuts off about halfway through one of the lyrics, and it cuts back to the Country Bears in the diner going, oh, that song is so stupid. And I remember thinking it was just a funny comedic cut that, like, it's clear they had an idea of comedically how this movie should work. And there's a lot of good comedic bits in this movie.
Well, this reminds me of Grease, this breakout session that they're doing, but they're trying to put some stomp in there because the guys in the kitchen are hitting the pots, and it's I don't know, it's a little over the top, but yeah, exactly. So I don't know, but I don't think that they nailed it there. Also, there was a weird part in the scene where there's a horn section played by a bunch of grandmas who happen to be in there. Really. The
entire diner was rehearsing this song for this one moment. And then at the end of the song, everything goes back to the way it was and no one acknowledges it happened, which leads me to think that the whole song was just in everyone's individual minds. They saw this happening and that it didn't really happen. I like thinking about the dumb logic of musicals and that right sometimes. Anyways,
I'd like to know and I never looked this up, if Johnny's Boiler is a real restaurant, and then I want to go to there. It feels like they were making fun of like Bob's Big Boy with it, but I mean it looks like it's a legit place, and so again, hopefully it's in Nashville and I can go visit it.
The exterior probably is. I don't think it looks like that on the inside. Yeah, it's much bigger on the inside.
No. So anyway, so they're going down the road and they're trying to get all this set up, and then in the meantime they call Rip Holland, and so here's another sight gag, right? So Rip Holland is their old promoter, and they had some beef with him, but they really needed him to help promote the show, and he's sitting there, he's like, I'm back, baby, and he's in his office, and there's this case that used to have like a gold record in it, but clearly he's taking it out to sell it
and hawked it to Zipper Funny. Yeah, that's a great gag.
And then they basically have to they back up, and he's in a Staples, and they're yelling at him, going, you can't be here, and he's like, no, man, I don't need you anymore, I'm making it big. I feel like that part was supposed to be bigger because you don't see Rip again until the end, but I feel like he should have had a bigger part in this.
We needed to see like one more thing with him so that the sort of betrayal bit that happens at the end feels a little bit more prominent.
Are you familiar with the song The Devil Went Down to Georgia?
I'm familiar with it. I don't think I've ever heard it, but I've heard people talk about it plenty of times.
Yeah, because it's like a fiddle duel, and that's
exactly what I said.
This scene reminds me of, with the fiddle duel kind of a thing here with Tennessee. Yeah, no, that's actually Zeb. That's Zeb. Sorry. Yeah.
This is at the Honey Bar run by Queen Latifah because Zeb owes her money.
A lot of money. We don't know how much. It's just a lot of money. A whole pile of money.
To the point that the whole bar knows about it as well.
Yeah. But so the other thing about this is Brian Setzer's in it. So I think that's interesting too. I don't think it's the whole Stray Cats, but maybe. But I don't think they're credited. I think just Brian Setzer is credited in this. So Brian Setzer was the lead singer of the Stray Cats, the Stray Cat Strut, if you've ever heard the song from the 80s. And then
that song I do know, yes.
And then he had his like Brian Setzer's orchestra later. So I mean this is again where it feels like the Muppets, right? So like they go into the bar and they tap the lady on the shoulder and she turns around, it's Queen Latifah. That's a very Muppet thing. That's a very Muppet thing to have a cameo like that. You know, it's like, hey, the house band, and he's like, have you seen our house band? And it's Brian Setzer is up there playing. So I mean, that's kind of neat seeing those little cameos. The problem is in 2021, you have to explain those cameos to people because they're not. They don't all stay. There's one in particular that still stands the test of time, and that's Elton John.
Yeah,
I think the rest of them you have to explain to people like who that was.
Because that's what happened to me when I watched the original Muppet movie. I'm like, should I be knowing who half these people are? Of course, now I've watched like the Carol Burnett show, so I know who all these people are now. But
ladies and gentlemen, like, Juliet Prowse, and you're going. Should I know her? I don't know. So when you go back to this and you see all these like cameos, the one that I think is really cool is that Bonnie Raitt, and somebody talked about it in chat a little bit earlier. Somebody else talked about it in chat a little bit earlier about that Bonnie Raitt and Don Henley sing the song for Tennessee and Trixie when they're in the lounge at the hotel. So when we meet up with Tennessee, he's a counselor for marriage counseling, but every time he starts talking about it with his couples, he starts crying because he misses his girl Trixie. So he'll just start randomly crying, and then they decide that maybe they're going to leave and try to make it work, and so it works. Yeah. But he's wearing a Cliff Huxtable from from Bill Cosby sweater while he's doing it, and so he misses Trixie. They just happen to run into her at this hotel bar, and he gets up on stage with her, and they do this song. But it's Don Henley from the Eagles as the voice of Tennessee while they're singing, and Bonnie Raitt is the voice of Trixie while they're singing. And then when the song's over, they cut to this couple sitting at the bar, and they're like, "Yeah, that was always my favorite song that they did," and it's actually Don Henley and Bonnie Raitt. But again, I feel like I need to explain that to you because I feel like, do you know who they are when you see them?
I don't, but I guessed. As it's happening, I'm like, are these cameos? I'm assuming we should know who these people are, but it comes as no surprise. I'm not a country music fan, nor am I really a fan of music. I don't know a lot of bands and artists. You were singing Pearl Jam before. I'm like, I don't think I've heard a single Pearl Jam song. But the movie, I'm like, okay, clearly it's supposed to be somebody. And
that's okay. Last week,
together with the same voices.
Last week, when we did, when Ron reviewed with me, he said he had never seen any SpongeBob. So that's worse. That's worse.
That's fair, maybe.
Yeah. So here they are. There they are. That's them. That's Don Henley and Bonnie Raitt. Now, Don Henley, if you've ever heard the song "The Boys of Summer," after the Boys of Summer have gone, that's no. All right, we're going to have a lot of conversations, Tyler, afterwards, because
you're going to have to send me a lot of the links after this.
Yeah, Don Henley, come on, man. Sunset
Here's
Girl.
The weird thing about the movie, though. Not a single person, they go up to all these characters, and they're like, hey, we're getting the band back together. We're getting the band back together. No one goes, who is this small bear with you? I think one of them does at the end at the wedding scene.
Yeah, Ted does.
No one questions who Barry is. They all just go along with it. And that's where I said the movie needs an extra 10 to 15 minutes. We need an extra little chunk of time. I use the word chunk a lot. It's fun. We need an extra little chunk of time where the country bears are like, so, what do you do? Oh, I play guitar. Oh, you play guitar. That's cool. Give me a few riffs. And then he does, and they're like, wow, you're really good. If you practice hard enough, you could be one of us one day. He's like, no, I want to be the Keyblade master. We need more of those little scenes interspersed so that at the end, when they're like, hey, Walter, why don't you perform with the Muppets? Then that moment sort of pays off where he's like, I get to come on stage and be a country bear. Somebody in chat's saying, I make them feel old because they know all those people. That's okay. I sound like that all the time to other people that I know. But anyways.
In everyone else's defense, I would say it's not that you're old. That they're making you feel old. You just literally have no idea. These are songs and people you should know. And shame on you for not knowing them.
Uh-huh.
Just saying. I'm just saying. Um, so there's a weird car wash scene where they play working at the
We
car wash.
we can't skip over the car wash. It's the best scene with the cops. They're like, oh no, oh yeah, the police think that Barry has been kidnapped by the country bear, so the police are in pursuit of him.
Yeah.
They find the bus, and the bus is dirty the whole movie. And so they're like, let's lose the car wash, which makes no sense. The cops could have just waited at the exit. But I think they knew the cops were inept, so the cops drive in to the car wash, and there's like soap all over the window, and they're like, I can't see anything. Let me just open the window, and they get sucked out. And I wanted to add so many like bone crunching blood splatter effects into that scene because it would be so funny. They're being flung all over the place. And then the bus comes out perfectly clean and gets away, and the cops are like, their clothes are completely shrunk because of like the hot wax and the blow dry. And then Diedrich Bader's hair is like slicked completely back, so he turns. And then it turns out his mustache has been fake this whole time. And that's the punchline to that bit. Yeah, tell me this isn't like a horror movie.
There's a mustache stuck to the windshield. Yeah.
It's such a funny scene. But then the weird thing is, right after this, there is a scene where they stop at a payphone to call, I think, what's the bear at the wedding?
Ted.
They try and phone Ted, but the bus is dirty behind them. And then in the very next shot, the bus is driving to his house, and it's perfectly clean. So I could only imagine there was a scene before the car wash where they called them to double check, but then like probably a test audience didn't really realize that they were going to go to that guy's house later, so they just moved it. So they're like, hey, we're coming to your house. No. Okay, let's go to his house. Next scene, they're at his house. Yeah. But then we get to the best scene probably of the whole movie, is Elton John.
Yeah. So before we leave this part, as they're walking out, yeah, this is just all like physical comedy. This is exactly what I mean. This is what the kids want. Is they want them in the dryer, in the flying, and you know they're almost already dry at that point, and yet there's a
I just
scene.
Noticed the unicorn with the lightning on the bus.
Yeah, but then there's this scene where they walk out and they like. How did they go so quickly from them being dry and everything's fine to this? I don't know. I mean,
there's a logic in comedy films.
Yeah,
it's like, have you ever seen like a Zucker like Airplane? It's like, what is that world? The world that they exist in.
Airplane. What's Airplane?
Nothing. It's just the greatest comedy of all time.
Why have I never heard of it?
Oh, I see. You're being me. Anyways.
They did call you in chat the Pete of music, so I'm just saying. And then also, Arch Fox said that none of these people are Canadian, so clearly you wouldn't know them.
I spit my drink out.
Does Tyler know who Rush is? Oh my gosh! Please tell me you know who Rush
is.
You're Canadian.
I don't know every Canadian. Matthew threw a Kids in the Hall reference to me once, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a Kids in the Hall episode.
I'm just trying to help you out here, man. I'm just trying to help you out because clearly there's a block.
Setups and I'm like,
There's a lack in your education that we need to fix here real soon, because these are good folks. Anyway, so then we get to the point where like. I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but that because Barry was gone, that they thought he'd been kidnapped, and so the police are chasing after the bears because they think that he's kidnapped Barry. They've kidnapped Barry, so Barry calls home and says, "Hey, tell mom and dad that I'm fine, that I did this on my own, and I finally found my purpose in life," which is super sad for this fourth grade kid. Yeah,
is upset that he has done the thing that the brother wanted him to do, which is to go away. Yeah. So now he's feeling guilty.
Yeah. So there's a cartoon that they played on TV that is the Country Bears cartoon, and they're looking back at how they sold out. And I'm thinking Star Trek. I'm thinking back in the day with like the animated Star Trek. It's a TV show. Look it up. William Shatner, Canadian, I think. So no, he's not Canadian. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. But I'm just like, it's like, hey, this is that cartoon where we sold out. And I'm thinking, is that a real cartoon? Because I would love to see that cartoon.
I would love to watch that cartoon. Maybe like at least one episode, like how BoJack Horseman did like a fake horsing around episode that's like 6 minutes long or something. I would love to just watch one of those Country Bear cartoons.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, dude, they're totally.
Yeah, they're staying in a motel, and that motel they just conveniently go to is the one where Trixie is playing in the hotel bar stage area, like most hotels have. Is that a thing?
I do think that's a thing. Like a lounge singer. I mean, that's a regular stereotype. I don't think that's something wrong. But I would point out that in the bar, there's this dude here, and he does show up at the end, like you were talking about with like Jennifer Page showing up at the end. He does show up at the end. But I have a question for you. Trixie hardly says anything. Tennessee, a few lines. Why couldn't Don Henley have been the voice and singing voice of Tennessee, and why couldn't Bonnie Raitt been the voice and singing? Like, I get it. I get if it's Jasmine and she can't sing, and there are these huge belting numbers, but there's a lot of like scenes in the whole thing. Trixie hardly says anything in this thing. They could have had Bonnie Raitt just do that voice.
I don't know, because like, I think Lea Salonga was the singing voice of Jasmine. Yes. The voice of Jasmine was someone else. But then Lea Salonga was the voice of Mulan, but then doesn't sing? Am I wrong about that?
No, Ming-Na Wen was the voice of Mulan.
Oh, right, my bad. Sorry. That's happened before, where like someone who's clearly a talented singer is in that role and then they get another voice. I don't know. That's an early Disney thing, and they stopped doing that at some point.
But in this particular case, I don't think the acting was so far out of reach for Bonnie Raitt that she couldn't have done Trixie's voice because, I mean, again, look at Crystal in the beginning. Crystal wasn't the best actress, but she was there to sing. I feel like Trixie could have been played by Bonnie Raitt. The other thing this is where the magic of the movies gets me, just like Dinosaur, because Katie and I reviewed Dinosaurs, the TV show, is that for some reason in my head, Haley Joel Osment is in that Barry Barrington costume. And he doesn't need to be, and he's not because it's a puppeteer. But in my head, I'm like, well, that's Haley Joel Osment, so that's him. That's Brad Garrett in the costume. That's Stephen Root in the costume. It's not, but I feel, again, I'm tricked in my head to go, oh, that's Haley Joel Osment. I don't know.
Charles Fleischer was in that rabbit cartoon.
Yeah. No, that's different. That's different. That's different. And here's why, is because they could be in that costume. Here's another thing is, and looking back at this picture now that it freaks me out a little bit, the eyes are so human that it's a little creepy.
Yeah.
Again, we just did a review of Brave. Jill and I did one of Brave, and in that, the way you could tell whether the mom was the mom or the bear was that her eyes would change, and those eyes, they're haunting. They are haunting.
It might be creepy if these country bears, though, did have just like black dots. I don't remember the way they look in the show compared to this movie. But anyways.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there's a lot of good music in here, and there are a lot of musicians. And at some point, they must have said, "Hey, we're doing this movie about the Country Bears, and we need a lot of musicians to be in it." And of the time, Queen Latifah and Bonnie Raitt and Don Henley and Willie Nelson and Brian Setzer. I mean, that was and Elton John. That must have been. I mean, that was they were recognizable at the time, and they agreed to do the movie. I don't know if they agreed to do it for like scale because they just wanted to be a part of it. If they just happened to be walking the backlight one day and they went, "Hey, come over here. Just need you for like 2 minutes if you don't mind doing this." I don't know how that worked out, but to me it lends credibility to it being a musical movie.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean,
the
it's
music
pretty
is
easy to just like pay any like. I don't know how many people out there are clamoring for Elton John to be in their movie. To be
The
fair,
Kingsman.
so yeah, that came way after this. But like, no one's like, oh, we're doing this movie. Should we just like try and get Elton John to be in it? Like, they'd much rather go for other people. Like, I think when Stan Lee was in the movie Mallrats, they're like, how'd you get Stan Lee? And Kevin Smith's like, no one ever asked Stan Lee to be in a movie before. So it was just easy to call up Stan Lee and be like, hey, you want to be in this movie about like nerds in a mall? He's like, oh, I'd love to do that. Sometimes it says that was a terrible Stan Lee.
That was Gilbert Gottfried, who's that's what you were doing just now.
Gottfried.
Yeah. I would love it would be great. I would love to. Yeah. No, that's definitely Gilbert Gottfried.
I love the Country Bears. Oh, that would have been so good. Anyways, Elton John, they go to what they think is Ted's house, and the gardener is Elton John, and they're like, that guy kind of looked like Elton John. And then later it's like, wait, so that wasn't your house? No, I'm just like his valet. I'm Elton John's valet, which means that Elton John was just in his house doing his own gardening.
Okay.
Because sure, why not?
Yeah. Let's go back to Christopher Walken and talk about this scene for a second. So he is getting up.
Oh my gosh!
Why is he in bunny slippers, garters, and why? I don't understand why that happened. And then he's got a little model of Country Bear Hall, which is clearly
he doesn't just have one. He has like 12 of these things.
Yeah.
Because he practices, as we're about to see, crushing it and pretending to react upset. But then we see it like 7 times. And it's like he just has a bunch of these so he can rehearse pretending to be sad. I think it should, like, all he needed was like, they forgot to give him an apple to eat as well to just prove how much of a bad guy he is. I'm like, I'm a bad guy. Look how rich I am in my bunny slippers.
Here's another, I don't get the reason for that scene and how many models they should have gone through with that one, right? So here's the other joke I don't get is Big Al and his grass, like the keep off the grass thing. Like he's got all these, like he's yelling at them for keeping off the grass, and he's got all these grass-like things behind him, and like for the first time here,
like Big Al. Now that you point it out,
no,
it really
does look nothing like Big Al. It's horrible. It's an insult to Big Al. But you know, the Big Al in this movie, we won't like Big Al 2, we'll call him. Has a lot of really good lines because they're like, are you going to be around later? He's like, well, I might be over there later. Or sometimes I like to be over here. Or sometimes I'm like over there. That to me, like that little bit of slow comedy that's really funny. They show him a picture of Barry and they were like, have you seen this guy? And he's like, yeah, but when I saw him, he was a little taller and he wasn't flat. I mean,
that was a good joke.
That is a risky joke. That's either going to land or bomb. And maybe that's the whole story of this movie. Maybe that's the whole story of this movie.
That's like a Tim Conway oldest man kind of bit. Which I don't know if anyone's going to get that reference though.
Who's Tim Conway?
You would know him. He's just like this funny dude. He was a Barnacle Boy in SpongeBob.
Disney legend.
He actually was.
Disney legend. Apple Dumpling Gang. Come on, man.
Still need to watch that. But yeah, the that kind of humor, like I love a good slow-paced joke because nowadays comedy is so much about people yelling and talking so quickly and improvising that just like a well-timed joke. And that's again what I meant, like the editing of this movie is so unique in that. Like there's a bit later where they're outside of they had left the bus and then they're like, where's the bus? Christopher Walken stole it. And for a split second it cuts to the bus just like 400 times speed driving down the street and you hear Christopher Walken go and that was it. That was the whole clip. And it clearly looked like recycled footage because again the bus is dirty in that shot, which makes no sense. But just that editing, that comedic timing, they clearly had an idea of how they wanted to do that.
Yeah. So as I'm looking through this movie, obviously there's the scene with Elton John that I wanted to bring up. So they're like, he's like, and they're like, we get it, you're the gardener. Or no, he's like, and they were like, oh, you're a big fan, we understand, we get that a lot.
That's a sweet hat, though.
Yeah. No, it's very nice. He would be right in place at the Epcot Taste of the International Flower and Garden Festival. He would look great.
Oh yeah.
He would look like great. Oh, I see. Because you've got. I see. You've got this. Oh, I didn't even. That's great. And
I'll just put that up.
why do you have that at the ready? I don't understand. Was it because of this movie?
I draw a character that has that hat, and then I bought the hat at Disney World because it was impossible to draw that hat. Yeah. Anyways.
And then they go to get their last member, who is Ted, and Ted they thought was rich, and that Elton John was his I guess his butler. And then they find out that Ted is actually a lowly wedding singer. Why do wedding singers get so much hate?
I don't know.
I mean,
Adam Sandler kind of sucks.
Okay. Well, let me just say in support of wedding singers, the Dan Band from The Hangover is a real thing, and if you ever get to see them in concert, you should. They sang Candy Shop in Hangover, and it was so good. Anyway, so they've gotten the band back together. Then they have that heartfelt moment where they're like, where Barry's like, oh, you guys aren't my heroes at all. And he walks away and he's tearing stuff off his wall. And they're like, oh,
yeah,
man,
it's
we
the
really
end of
need to
Act
get it
2.
together.
We all need to be mad at each other for no reason. It always happens. Every movie. There's always a moment where someone's just like, what? You said what about me? I didn't say that, but you thought it. I'm going to go away now forever.
Forever?
It's just every 3-act structure movie. It needs that low point at the end of Act 2. So the beginning of Act 3, somebody can be like, listen, everyone, I know we're not the best, but darn it, we're going to try, okay? And sure, we don't need them. Like, it needs that build-up moment. And then that's when the Country Bears arrive at Barry's house. And they're like, hey, we were wrong. And we need your help, specifically? Oh, right. No, wait. I don't remember what happened next. Why did they need Barry again?
Okay, hold please.
Because he brought them together?
When they were trying to track Barry down, they brought in all this high-tech equipment. I just wanted to point that out as well because it is this wasn't even high-tech in 2002. Like I don't even know what they were doing there. But yeah, so they decided that Barry had this because all his class projects, now it's all coming together, right? All of his class projects were about the Country Bears. And so it was this, they found that when he had left all his stuff, that there was this journal page or this essay he wrote about why the Country Bears are my heroes. And he's like, well, separately they're not, but when you put them together, there's something special. And so they're like, we've been awful. We need to go get Barry and tell him we are going to do this after all. And we're going to save Country Bear Hall.
Bear Hall.
Just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right. So they go and Ted goes in as the representative to go talk, which at first I'm thinking that makes sense because all of those bears piling into the Barringtons' house would be too much. They're too big. It would be overwhelming. It would look dumb, like all 5 bears in Barry's bedroom. Bears and Barry.
Yeah. That would have been a great scene, actually. This is more like squeezing in to fit in the room and have a nice chat. That would have been a funny
well, they already did that bit later when they tried to get Ted in the van. But while he's in there making this speech, then the evil Christopher Walken character steals the van, the bus, and takes them away because he's not going to let them save Country Bear Hall. He goes and locks them away, and he's going to just tear the whole place down. And he's put the final nail in the coffin because he's locked them up. And then they're like, we can find him. Go ahead.
This whole time we were wondering, why is Christopher Walken doing this? And earlier in the movie, they had set up that, they won some championship against some guy who just like tried like farting under his arm and playing a song. And the whole movie, we're just like, why does Christopher Walken do this? Do we know that he hates the Country Bears? Is he doing it because he wants money? And then I think we were watching the movie and Thomas is just like, oh.
Don't tell me he put it together. Don't tell me. Did he put it together?
Because I think I said, I forgot the end of this movie. And I said, why is he doing this though? And Tom's like, he's probably the armpit guy. Like, and I'm like, oh, you're right. And he has kidnapped all the Country Bears. No, wait, sorry, I'm getting out of ourselves. Take it away.
Yeah, so, but, I mean, he's got them all kidnapped, and he goes and he locks them up, and he's like, they're like, why are you doing this? Why do you want to destroy Bear Hall? And that's when he starts looking like he's going to take off his clothes, and then they're all freaking out, and then he does
that was weird.
Yeah, he does the armpit noises, and then it flashes back to that one scene that we saw at the very beginning for just the briefest of time. And so I don't know that, I think it's kind of genius that they didn't overdo that scene. Because then, like, when you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming, except for Thomas. Everyone else didn't see that coming. Because they underplayed it. In a lot of cases, especially in a family or a kid's movie, they would overplay that hand to the point where you'd be like, yeah, I know Scooby-Doo. I know who the villain is here. You know, you don't have to tell me. But it was well played, I thought, that particular part of it. I liked it.
It was good, yeah. But it also shows just how much the Muppets took this movie again, because the two villains in both movies are, I got horribly like embarrassed by this group of people, or like undermined by this other group of people, so now I'm going to spend possibly my whole life trying to seek revenge by destroying the place where they perform. Both are the same, although we never see that scene with Tex Richmond, why he hates the Muppets, because it was cut out of the movie, which makes no sense why you would delete that. Anyways.
Well, here's a little plea because we're getting close to the end, that I've always said this in the past, is if we could get 50 likes, because people love unboxing, that I would open this, and we got 50 tonight. So thank you guys for doing that. I'm excited to finally, and at the end we'll open this one. Again, people love unboxing; they just do. So thank you guys for the likes. We'll open that at the end. Spoiler: this shirt goes on sale this Thursday night. I'm spoiling the whole thing right now because I never get to spoil anything. So
that is a great shirt.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited about that one. It'll be carouselproducts.com this Thursday night. So when I'm looking through all of this, like all of the stuff that we've talked about here, it comes to that grand Disney finale, that heartwarming, everything is great thing. And there's this scene where they get back to the Bear Hall and it's completely empty, and they see their old promoter there because he's come back for the first time since the whole thing happened, and he has sold them out. He never promoted the show. He did it for cash, and it was for business, and it was no big deal. And so basically Christopher Walken paid him, like, you can't, just when you have him counted out, he comes back. Christopher Walken's got another plan, and in this particular case, it was that there were no people coming. But then Big Al's like, "Hey, I had them all wait out back because I don't want them stepping on my grass." So was that the joke? I don't know.
That was 100% the joke. Was like they wanted to make it seem like it didn't succeed, and then it was like, "What? No, you know that thing with my grass? Yeah."
Yeah.
They're all just over here. And I loved this bit. I loved that bit because you expect the big grand ending where there is a ton of people just waiting for them. And then it's like, nope, no one's here. And then it's like, oh no, they're here.
Yeah. And they bring a basket of money.
And it was the slowest burn. I liked that joke.
Yeah. And they bring a basket of money too. And the basket of money just happens. They count it up ahead of time. And they make the big announcement that it is enough to save Country Bear Hall. Yeah, exactly. So here's the basket of money, and they all look and they go, "Yep, that's about 20 grand. We got it."
That was the easiest thing to miss. Is like we needed somebody like counting it as they played the song, like maybe the parents, because the Barrington family or is it the Berenstain family?
No, Barrington.
The Barrington family.
We can't say the other one. We're not legally allowed to say the other one, so it's Barrington.
They like we needed them counting. They came with, and the brothers like, you know what? This is wicked. Oh yeah, he's standing with Jess Hartnell in the front row, and they're like, Jess Hartnell's like, who's that bear? And he's like, that's my brother. And they're like, yeah, and they high five. It was I've heard from the making of this movie that every single person in that audience, it was an open call to any Country Bears fan to come be an extra in the finale of this movie, because they found it would have been way harder to convince a bunch of extras to pretend to care about these bears, whereas this way they could get a bunch of actual Country Bears fans to show their enthusiasm for a movie being made out of the attraction they love. Or they thought, hey, let's not pay any of these people because they're fans, which is more likely because it's Disney. Anyways.
Good times. Yeah. No,
good times.
It is good times. I don't know. I like the movie overall, but like I said, I feel like there's some things that are a little lacking. Barry does get his big solo performance at the end, and then they run the credits, and you see all these. I guess they're kind of outtakes, but it's people talking about the Bears, and you see Don Was from Was Not Was, Walk the Dinosaur, Wycliffe Jean, Exhibit. Like, yeah, exactly. And then you see Willie Nelson again, and Queen Latifah, and Elton John. So it's really neat to see all of these stars in the post scene. And then if you wait till the very end, maybe they invented the after credit scene, because at the very end there's another one with the police. Did you wait until the very end? Did you wait?
No, because I was thinking why the cops never show up again after the car wash scene.
My friend,
there's no like, oh my gosh, can we like play what happened in this? I totally missed this.
I have something for you, but again, I don't want it to be too much. This says it was distributed by Buena Vista Distribution. It said Touchstone Pictures, but anyway, so here it is.
What?
So the police car is there at the car wash. This is when they've got their bad hair, their shrunk outfits. They go to the car, and what do you think's going to happen? What's going to happen? Tell me. What's going to happen?
Puppies!
No!
Oh,
water.
no, it was water.
And a whole bunch of things that are stereotypical for cops, like McDonald's cups come out of their, at the end. So,
wow.
They get that little moment.
That wasn't satisfying at all. That doesn't wrap up anything.
That was the linchpin to the next movie. And the next movie never happened.
I see.
That's what it was.
Still
it was
gonna go after them.
Yeah. So anyway, so I also want to ask if anybody's watching who has not subscribed to this channel, WDWNT Entertainment, we would love for you to subscribe to the channel. We're like 120 people away from the next milestone. And you've got great shows like the RPG is on here.
Big announcement coming shortly.
Yep, there you go. And we, the Boxed In is on this channel. So we would love for you guys to subscribe. And again, if you haven't already hit the like button, we've already done our bribe for the 50, but we would love more likes so that people can find this video. So with all that out of the way, Tyler, is there anything else that you need to say about this movie before I ask you the big question? The first time you asked me to be on Deep in the Plus, I was like, let's find like the worst of the worst. I want to watch some trash, and we did. We watched Fuzz Bucket, but I was like, here's another list of stuff, and I was like, let's check out this, and all of the movies that we have watched, because I assumed they were terrible, I've been like, that was surprisingly entertaining. And I'm like, why did this movie do bad? Because this movie did do badly. It just did not do well at the box office. And I don't think you can... Definitely Pirates is like a bigger scoped movie. And they got way better A-list type actors to fill out the cast. And they got Jerry Bruckheimer, Mr. Action producer himself, to make that movie. But then with this one,
it was really just like a small, fun road trip movie. It was very family friendly. You know, there's not skeletons jump scaring the audience and everything, but it was still a good movie.
All right, before you say anything else,
though,
I wanted to mention that the movie cost $35 million to make and made $18 million at the box office.
Oh,
$35 million to make and made $18 million at the box office. Also, one other little sight gag that was in it, and there were a bunch of little ones that we didn't talk about. The boat that they put Ted in as it was being pulled away was the Teddy Barracuda.
Was it?
While I was watching it, it was the Teddy Bear. So Teddy Barra from the show, who comes down out of the ceiling. So Teddy Barra didn't get her due in here because it was all about Trixie. Then Teddy Barracuda was the name of that boat. So, I mean, there are a lot of things about the attraction we could talk about, but we're here to talk about the movie. And so I have to ask you, Tyler, man, would you recommend this movie? Go.
Absolutely. This movie is really enjoyable. It has unique comedic timing to it, and clearly they knew the kind of movie they wanted to make. It is not like taking bits and pieces from the attraction like they would with, let's say, Pirates, where they're grabbing, you know, memorable moments and portraying that on the screen. But they did make a 90-minute movie out of the Country Bears in the most appropriate way they could, and there was still a lot of great bits and gags in it, filled with very talented voice actors and comedians. So I would recommend this movie. I was surprised that I enjoyed this movie.
Well, I will say that I was a huge fan of the original attraction. I said that at the beginning. I bought all of the Wishables, but I buy all the Wishables anyway. I bought this Country Bear Magic Band that just went on sale for a little while ago. It's a limited release, still available if you want it. There isn't usually a lot of swag for the original Country Bear attraction. I hear that I have to go to Tokyo to get that, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice if that's what it takes. But there, you know, to me, growing up with this, there was a lot of I have a lot of attachment to this. My first gamer handle was CB Jamboree. Totally dork. I get it. I know. but I just, and people were like, what is that? Don't worry about it. Anyway, so I love the Country Bear show. The movie, I like this movie. And I just feel like that, just like I've said about Haunted Mansion, I think it was the right, on paper, formula for a movie. I just think that this attraction deserved a better movie. There were just some little things. I don't think the bears were close enough to the bears. I think that it could have been Grizzly Hall. That's an easy fix. There are a lot of things about it that I think could have been closer to the original. But they tried. They took a risk with it. And I think that the Jim Henson creatures are great for what they are. I think it's only an hour and a half movie. It is a very easy watch. All the acts are there. It is a very kind of stereotypical story, but it had the twist ending. So overall, I'd say I would definitely recommend this movie. There have been times where I'd say, oh, if you're a Disney fan and you watch this movie, you'll get more out of the parks, but it's kind of the opposite for this one. So if you like the parks and you like that attraction, you'll find the little Easter eggs along the way. Maybe you'll even catch some that we hadn't, and you can let us know in the comments below what we missed. So. For that, again, I want to go ahead and open this up. There are 4 on the back here, Tyler. What's your guess? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a troll.
I think it's Sven. I'm feeling Sven.
I was also going to say Sven, but I think it's more likely that they put a lot more trolls into these wishable bags than a character like Sven. What? I should have said Sven. I knew it was going to be Sven, and yet I said a troll.
I've been wanting to open this one for so long, and it's just, yes, so that's exciting stuff. So, anyway. Oh,
I knew it.
Yeah, sorry. So, I mean, I guess all that's left to say is that concludes our show. So thanks for bearing with us to the bare end.
Oh, my gosh.
What do you say, Tyler?
The bear pun number 5.
Y'all come back now, you hear? Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night.